Alrighty, so this review is going to mark our first foray into Hammer movies. Now, for those of you who may be unaware, it's my understanding that while we got those classic Universal monster flicks in the States, across the pond there was Hammer. And they definitely do things differently with their adaptation of The Phantom, though not in a bad way as far as I'm concerned. Some notable things that they attempt to play around with a bit are, for one, they seem to have given him a sidekick or a caretaker, in the same vein as, say, Dr. Frankenstein and Igor, or Renfield and Dracula, which I thought was kind of neat. Another thing is that it doesn't feel as though his facial deformity is necessarily a focal point to his character. Now, people still treat him very much as the Phantom. You know, they're still afraid of the shadow that prowls through the corridors of the Opera House at night. But very similar to the last movie that we covered, we're given a situation that implies that it all is a tragic accident. And even the character himself kind of has this viewpoint or this feel to him, as if to say, you know, what has happened to me is nobody's fault but my own. It was my own mistake, my own stupidity, you know, something along those lines. But it's not something that gets drug out particularly far or focused on too heavily. But I think the biggest difference here is that there's not a love triangle per se. You know, there's not a Raoul character in competition with the Phantom character, you know, vying for the affections of Christine. This is because the bad things that are happening throughout the Opera House at the hands of the Phantom are happening well before Christine even enters into the story. And his interest in her and his relationship with her is one that is purely artistic and professional. I think I would argue that at least up to this point, this Phantom is probably the most human that we've gotten so far. And there's a certain scene that struck a particular chord with me. It's the point in the film where the Phantom is kind of explaining the sequence of events that has led him to the current state that he's in. And the camera focuses on Christine. It's a close-up of her face. And she is very teary-eyed, emotional, and you just get this read of raw sympathy on her face. And, you know, there was this realization for me that, you know, she's not feeling this way or expressing this due to the typical ideas that have been expressed before of, like, you know, he's a misunderstood sideshow freak, right? All of this is happening and being expressed from her because this is a musical genius who has been, you know, to put it frankly, severely effed over and left to suffer both physically and mentally for years. And I think, especially when you take him and you put him directly up against the villain of the film. All of the things that he does in the name of revenge seem justifiable, understandable. The goals that he has of, teaching Christine to use her God-given talents so that he is able to watch this project that he has had a hand in molding perform his music for at least once before he dies. Seems simple and straightforward. And while I would say, the only downside to his character is probably his teaching methods with Christine. He gets rather angry, he cuffs her up a bit, throws her around. He definitely seems to stay very neutral in his own story. And he's able to die a hero as he saves Christine from the falling chandelier. All in all, I didn't love this movie, but I can certainly appreciate the differences in creative direction. And I think, especially when we're doing something like this, where we're looking at all of them in a row, this is an adaptation that is going to forever stick out in my mind because of those unique differences. And I guess, in short, I would say, I really liked this movie a lot. I'm just not in love with it. But that is going to bring another adaptation of Phantom of the Opera, another review, to a close for us. And I hope you will join me very soon for the next one. Until then, take care, and we'll see you later.